create a new feature for the product service. The feature should be the new endpoint returning a list of products. Use the following product definition. Product, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Normal feature. And then, of course, our friend Cursor started looking what we had and realized that there is nothing about product service. Right? And said, okay, this folder is empty. There are no code examples. I can't do much. So what I will do, I will proceed with a minimal Python API using fast API. Define a product model, implement an endpoint here, and I will put on the hard-coded database information for you. Okay? Just say, okay, go ahead. And then he starts creating stuff. What he did create? He did create a project service. I didn't change anything, okay? So he created one file called product service that has product, that has an endpoint using fast API that return the products. Boom. Nothing more. Nothing more. And I said, okay, I need to run this guy. Can you help me? Right? And then and he wrote some requirements, and then I was able to ask this to run internally, and it worked. Okay, everything's working. Nice vibe coding, it works, but it doesn't pass my code review. Why? We have only one file. We have a domain, product, controller, service, everything in one file. We don't have any tests, right? I don't even know if I accept using fast API in my company, right? So I didn't tell anything. Of course, I couldn't get anything much better than this. It's pretty good actually, right? But yeah, it wouldn't pass in my code review. So I say, okay, let's try use some context. What I did, I created a file. I have something similar already, so I adjusted for here. So I call it architectural rules, right? So the architectural rules has what I call layered architecture enforcement. So the very first version of it, I created, I vibe coded some code that I have already have created and put here, right? And not vibe coded. Sorry, I asked Cursor to look at my code and create the rules that code enforces. Okay, so the code is the way I want. So I Cursor look at the code and create a rule file and explaining these rules. Okay, so this is the very first moment that I have a context. I could say, okay, my code works like this. I want to keep it doing this. And if I want to create a new service, use these ideas, right? Which ideas? In my case, libraries, Flask, SQL Alchemy, unit test, right? Code style, use the object-oriented programming style. Don't use the structured programming style, right? So it's something that I want. And I say layers organization, how it would be API layer, controllers, models, open API specification, service layer, how it works, data layer, infrastructure, like if we need some configs, blah, 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 etc. Tests, how organize the tests in my folders, tests, unit tests, how to run it, how to organize it, how to create it, you see, blah, blah, blah. So lots of interesting stuff here that is explain how the things are structured, right? I use it product here, but it could be anything. It's just an example, right? And then I did exactly same thing. I started a new chat and I did like this. Now I put the architecture MD here, our empty folder, and then I say create a new feature for the product service. The feature should be a new endpoint that returns a list of products. Use the follow product definition. Blah. The prompt is exactly the same. The only thing that I have it is using these roles. Boom. That the only thing that I added, right? And then the guy started looking at my code and look and find out that our with context already was already empty, right? And then it said doesn't have any of the required folders, blah blah blah. So I will create the following instructor. See the difference? Real difference here. And then it goes and boom, created everything. All the folders. Blah. And then it started creating different files because it's a layered architecture, right? So model, repository, service, data classes, controller, using Flask API, Open API, a spec, test product service, test product controller. I'm showing here this one prompt, okay? This was the very first prompt. That's the result. I'm showing here just so you to not say that I'm being I'm doing some kind of advertisement here because I'm not. Corso, if you want to advertise me, I wouldn't complain, right? But yeah, we don't have any advertisement here. I just like Cursor. And what I did is, uh, it didn't create a requirement text file. And I said, wow, it's interesting. I didn't mention anything that about in the rules, right? About how to organize the libraries. So it's a miss in my time. So I would in an iteration, I could say, okay, I'm missing that. I will put that here and say, okay, create it, and we all the libraries must be in the requirements, right? And then it's created, and boom, I said, okay, everybody put everything there. It started creating the virtual environment, blah blah blah, and then it says, okay, run this guy, right? So, and then I tried to run the tests, and I got some errors. I said, wow, model not found, and because they're missing init files. It's okay. It adjusted, did everything. What I want to do, okay, finish it, put everything there. Boom, everything worked. Okay. Oh no, I got some errors. Oh, this is an interesting error here. I can talk about that. I don't know if I can if I it would be good to continue because the errors here was because the version of Python when I created the virtual env, this version doesn't work correctly with my libraries, and then it suggests to downgrade the virtual env, which I did to version 3.11 here. Boom, and then everything worked, right? So this is vibe coding, right? I was not creating. I'm not creating any code here. I make sure my code follows my rules. I make sure the code has tests. I make sure that it run the tests and make sure the test passing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
That's
see
pretty
the
cool.
code. Yeah. API layer, controllers, models, the API schema. Now we have all the .NET the neat files here. Repository, service, the integration test, the unit test. Let's see.
Um,
So I